Life often feels like a storm. We're constantly tossed by waves of things we can't control, a shaky job market, global events, the health of our loved ones, and even the turbulence in our own hearts. This constant uncertainty can leave us feeling anxious, exhausted, and powerless. We burn so much energy trying to guess what's coming next, bracing for impacts that might never happen, and worrying about a future we simply can't command. It feels like we're just passengers on a ship in a tempest, with no say over the raging sea. But what if the secret to finding peace isn't about waiting for the storm to pass? What if it's not about calming the ocean, which is an impossible task anyway? What if the secret is about learning to captain your own ship, right here, in the middle of the storm, using a timeless set of tools designed for this exact purpose? This is the promise of Stoicism, a 2,000-year-old philosophy born not in quiet libraries, but forged in the chaos of the Roman Empire. It was practiced by emperors, slaves, and statesmen who faced war, plague, and political turmoil head-on. They understood that uncertainty isn't a bug, it's the fundamental feature of life. And they developed a practical system for building an unshakable inner citadel, a fortress of tranquility that no external storm can ever breach. Today, we're going to explore 5 of their most powerful lessons. Think of them not as abstract theories, but as practical tools you can start using immediately to navigate your own life. These are the lessons that teach you not how to predict the future, but how to become anti-fragile, how to gain strength from adversity, and find a deep sense of peace, no matter what waves come your way. Lesson 1. Differentiate between what you can and can't control. The first and most foundational lesson from the Stoics is the dichotomy of control. It's the compass you'll use to navigate everything else. The concept is simple, but putting it into practice can change your life. As the philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and became a respected teacher, put it, "Some things are in our control and others not." It seems obvious, right? But think about how much of our daily anxiety comes from forgetting this truth. We obsess over what other people think of us, something completely outside our control. We lose sleep over the economy, global conflicts, or the fear of a sudden illness, things we have little to no influence over. We pour our precious energy, focus, and peace of mind into things where we are totally powerless. The Stoics argue this is the main reason we're so miserable. So, what is in our control? Our opinions, our motivations, our desires, our reactions, in other words, our own actions. Everything else, our body, our reputation, our job, the actions of others, is not. True peace comes from focusing every bit of our effort on that first category and learning to accept the second with grace. Let's apply this to a modern source of uncertainty: your career. Imagine you're looking for a new job. The storm is raging. Will I get an interview? Will they like me? Is there a better candidate? Is the company even stable? These are the waves that toss us around, and every single one is outside of your direct control. Worrying about them is like shouting at the wind. You just end up exhausted. The Stoic approach is to draw a clear line. You can't control if you get the job offer, but you can control the quality of your resume. You can control the hours you spend researching the company. You can control the thoughtful questions you prepare for the interview. You can control your attitude and the effort you put into every single application. That is where your power lies. When you shift your focus from the outcome, which is external, to your effort, which is internal, something incredible happens. The anxiety starts to fade, and it's replaced by a sense of purpose. You're no longer a passive victim of your circumstances. You're an active participant. A great way to build this habit is through journaling. Each day, write down your worries. Then, draw a line down the middle of the page. On one side, list what you can't control. On the other, list the actions and attitudes that are completely up to you. Then, make a conscious decision to let go of the first list and pour all your energy into the second. Over time, this practice retrains your mind to stop fighting battles you can't win. Lesson 2. Practice negative visualization. Premeditatio malorum. This second lesson might sound strange in our culture of relentless positivity. It's called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This is the Stoic practice of actively imagining that the things you fear might actually come true. This isn't about being morbid or pessimistic. It's a tool for building psychological resilience. The philosopher Seneca, one of the most powerful men in the Roman Empire, was a huge advocate for this. He knew that fortune is fickle and that anything you have can be taken away in an instant. He wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." In other words, a punch you see coming doesn't hit as hard. The goal here is twofold. First, it vaccinates you against the shock of misfortune. By mentally rehearsing potential hardships, losing your job, facing a health scare, a relationship ending, you strip them of their power. Fear loves the unknown. When you drag your fears into the light and really look at them, they start to shrink. You ask yourself, okay, what would I actually do if this happened? And you start to realize that you'd cope. You would adapt. You'd figure it out. Think about financial uncertainty. You might fear a market crash or a huge, unexpected expense. The typical response is to either ignore that fear or just live with a constant, low-level anxiety. The Stoic response is to face it head-on. Take a few minutes and visualize it. Imagine your savings have been cut in half. What's next? Your first feeling might be panic, but stay with it. What practical steps would you take? You'd redo your budget. You'd cancel some subscriptions. You'd cut back on eating out. It would be hard, for sure, but would it be the end of you? No. You would survive. You'd make a plan. And by walking through it mentally, you prove to yourself that you're far more resilient than your anxiety lets you believe. The second, and maybe more beautiful, benefit of this practice is that it fills you with gratitude for what you have right now. When you regularly think about what it would be like to lose your health, you start to cherish your ability to just walk and breathe today. When you imagine life without your loved ones, you're inspired to treat them with more kindness and patience in this very moment. It prepares you for the worst, but in doing so, it allows you to fully appreciate the best. Lesson 3. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Our modern world is an engine of comfort. We have temperature-controlled homes, food delivered to our door, and endless entertainment on tap. We're conditioned to think that any discomfort is a problem to be solved. But the Stoics knew a vital truth. A life lived in constant comfort makes for a fragile spirit. To be strong enough for the big, unavoidable hardships of life, we have to deliberately practice facing small, voluntary ones. This is the lesson of embracing voluntary discomfort. It's about intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone to build mental toughness. Seneca, despite his wealth, would regularly practice poverty. He'd wear his plainest clothes, eat simple food, and sleep on the floor. He didn't do this for fun. He did it to remind himself he could endure hardship. He wanted to rob the thought of losing his wealth of its terror by proving his happiness didn't depend on it. So how do we apply this today? You can start small. The discomfort doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be intentional. Try taking a cold shower. Those few minutes of shivering aren't about getting clean. They're about teaching your brain to follow a difficult command. It's a small, daily promise to yourself that you can do hard things. Try intermittent fasting. Skipping a meal teaches you that hunger is just a sensation, not an emergency. It shows that you're in control of your appetites, not the other way around. Tackle your most dreaded task first thing in the morning. Instead of procrastinating on that tough phone call, just get it done. This shows you that the anxiety leading up to a task is almost always worse than the task itself. These little acts of voluntary discomfort are like going to the gym for your character. You're lifting weights, but with your willpower. Each time you choose the harder path, you're telling your subconscious mind, I am not fragile. I can handle this. When life inevitably throws a real, involuntary hardship your way, you won't be starting from scratch. You'll have a reserve of mental strength to draw upon because you've proven to yourself, time and again, that discomfort isn't fatal. In fact, it's the very thing that makes you stronger. Lesson 4. Reframe fear and uncertainty as opportunities for growth. How we see an event is how we experience it. For the Stoics, there's no such thing as an objectively bad event. There are only events and our judgments about them. Rain isn't bad. It's just rain. It's our judgment that it ruined our picnic that causes the distress. This brings us to a crucial lesson. Reframing life's obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius, who faced constant war and personal loss, famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the art of turning obstacles upside down." For a fire, a log isn't an obstacle, it's fuel. For a person with a trained mind, a challenge is a chance to practice virtue. When we're faced with uncertainty, our default reaction is fear. We see the potential for pain and failure. The Stoic mind, however, sees the potential for practice. A difficult boss isn't a curse. It's a chance to practice patience. A sudden financial setback isn't a disaster. It's a chance to practice resilience and creativity. A global crisis isn't just a source of anxiety. It's a chance to practice courage and focus on what you can control. This requires a conscious shift in your inner monologue. When anxiety starts to creep in, instead of letting it spiral, reframe it with a question. Instead of thinking, "This is a disaster," ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of, "I can't handle this," ask, "How can this challenge make me a stronger person?" This simple shift moves you from a passive victim mindset to an active, empowered one. Seneca put it perfectly when he wrote, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Most of our pain doesn't come from the event itself, but from the fear we project onto it beforehand. By reframing uncertainty as a training ground, we stop suffering in our imagination. This doesn't mean you have to love hardship. It just means recognizing that inside every challenge is a hidden opportunity to become a more courageous, patient, and wise human being. The events of your life are the raw material. Your judgment is the tool that shapes them. You can shape them into a monument of fear, or you can shape them into a testament of your strength. Lesson 5. Live mindfully in the present and cultivate gratitude. This final lesson is what anchors all the others. In a world of uncertainty, where the future is a fog and the past is just a memory. The only solid ground we have is the present moment. The fifth Stoic lesson is to live mindfully in the now and to cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for what it holds. So much of our anxiety is a disease of time. We're either stuck regretting the past or dreading the future. But the Stoics recognized that the past and future only exist as thoughts in our heads. The only place where life is actually lived is right here, right now. As Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That power exists only in the present. Living in the present is a skill. When you find your mind racing with what-if scenarios, gently bring it back. Ground yourself in this moment. Feel the chair you're sitting on. Notice the rhythm of your own breathing. Listen to the sounds in the room. When a worry pops into your head, you can greet it with a simple question. Is this in my control, right here, right now? If the answer is no, you can gently let it go and return your focus to the task at hand. Hand in hand with presence comes gratitude. The Stoics knew our happiness is determined less by our circumstances and more by the quality of our thoughts. Uncertainty pushes us to focus on what we might lose. Gratitude pulls our focus back to what we currently have. Start a daily gratitude practice. It can be as simple as writing down 3 things you're thankful for each morning. They don't have to be huge. I'm grateful for this cup of coffee. I'm grateful for the quiet of the morning. I'm grateful that I am breathing. This simple act can shift your entire mental framework. It pulls your attention away from the vast ocean of what you might lose and anchors it to the solid island of what you have in this moment. Gratitude isn't a naive denial of problems. It's a conscious decision to recognize the good that exists alongside the bad. It's a declaration that, even in the middle of a storm, there are things to be cherished. Conclusion. So, to bring it all together, here is your Stoic toolkit for facing uncertainty. First, remember the dichotomy of control. Focus only on what you can control, your actions and reactions, and accept the rest. Second, practice negative visualization. Mentally rehearse worst-case scenarios to build resilience and appreciate what you have right now. Third, embrace voluntary discomfort. Intentionally choose small hardships to strengthen your mind for the big ones you don't choose. Fourth, reframe uncertainty as opportunity. See every obstacle not as a roadblock, but as fuel for your own growth. And fifth, practice mindful presence and gratitude. Anchor yourself in the present moment and focus on what you have, not what you fear losing. The storms of life will never stop. The promise of Stoicism was never a life free from problems. It was the promise of building a person strong enough to withstand any problem. With these 5 lessons, you are no longer a helpless passenger. You are the captain. You hold the rudder of your judgments and the compass of your principles. You can't control the weather, but you can always control the ship. The goal isn't to find a calm harbor. It's to become such a skilled sailor that you can find peace and purpose right in the heart of the storm. If you found this wisdom valuable, subscribe to join our community for more ancient philosophy for modern life. And let us know in the comments, which of these 5 lessons resonates most with you today?